One of the secrets to our early progress was we had to rely on the telling and the retelling of our stories of life. Our historical traditions came to life in our oral renditions. Storytelling was our way of ensuring that the record was passed on. In an era of banned books and altered history to exclude contributions of African Americans, and even laws forbidding the teaching of anything that makes white folk feel uncomfortable, this skit is about an older generation looking for their contemporaries, concerned that their historic contributions are either lost or not known. But the younger generation encourages the older generation and assures them that through the power of storytelling, their heroes have not been forgotten and their good works still carry on.
In the 1960s, Mom Mabley, an African American comedian, sang a song paying tribute to the memory of three assassinated Americans who were considered icons of social change. They were President Abraham Lincoln, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and President John F. Kennedy. Today we present a contemporary version of the song along with narrative to honor Dr. Martin Luther King, Congressman Elijah Cummings, and Congressman John Lewis.
Anybody here seen my old friend Martin? Can you tell me where he's gone? Freed the minds of many people. It seems the good die young. I looked around and he was gone.
I saw Dr. Martin Luther King, though it was not in the flesh. He was in the archives of history, an anointed man, called and blessed, to peacefully set men free. Let me tell you more. The Rev. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born in Atlanta, Georgia on January 15, 1929. He became the third member of his family to serve as pastor of the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta. He got his education in Georgia's segregated public schools, graduating at the age of 15. He received a BA degree from Atlanta's Morehouse College, a traditional black college. He then went on to study theology at Crozer Theological Seminary in Pennsylvania, an integrated school, where he was elected president of his senior class. In 1955, he received an advanced degree from Boston College in Massachusetts. He then completed the residency for his doctorate 2 years earlier. Dr. King became the predominant leader in the civil rights movement to end racial segregation and discrimination in America during the 1950s and the 1960s, and a leading spokesperson for nonviolent methods of achieving social change. He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964 and was selected by the Time magazine as its Man of the Year. He received the Presidential Medal of the Freedom in 1977 and the Congressional Gold Medal in 2004. During a rally in the nation's capital on August 28, 1963, Dr. King delivered his most famous I Have a Dream speech from the steps of Abraham Lincoln Memorial. This speech is now considered to be among the great speeches of American history. Dr. King's success in galvanizing the drive for civil rights made him the target of conservative segregationists who believed firmly in the superior superiority of the white race, and feared social change. He was arrested over 20 times and his home was bombed. Ultimately, he was assassinated on April 4th, 1968, on the balcony of a motel where he was staying in Memphis. The lasting legacy of Dr. King was a vibrant catalyst for social change cannot be denied. Among the prominent legacies of his ability to organize and energize the movement for equality are the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. A monument to honor Dr. King was unveiled in the nation's capital in 2012.
Has anybody here seen my friend Elijah? Can you tell me where he's going? He advocated for the people, had a heart for the young. I looked around and he was gone.
I saw Mr. Elijah Cummings, though it was not in the flesh. He was in the archives of history. He used his position to fight for his people, to legalize equality. Let me tell you more. Congressman Elijah Eugene Cummings was born January 18, 1951 in Baltimore, Maryland, the son of South Carolina sharecroppers who moved to Baltimore for a better life for their children. Religion and education were very important in the Cummings household. His father told them, "If you missed one day of school, that meant you died the night before." Congressman Cummings said he did not miss 1 second of school between kindergarten and graduation from high school. Congressman Cummings graduated from Baltimore City College, a selective Baltimore high school, and went to Howard University, where he graduated with a bachelor's degree in political science. In 1976, he earned a law degree from the University of Maryland School of Law and founded a law firm in Baltimore. He worked at his practice for 2 decades until his election to Congress. In 1982, he won the election to the Maryland House of Delegates. For 14 years, he represented a predominantly black district in southwestern Baltimore. In 1996, he won the election to the U.S. House of Representatives, beginning what would become a 23-year celebrated career in Congress. Congressman Cummings was an influential and well-respected representative. In the state legislature, he carried the Black Caucus and eventually became the first African American in Maryland history to be named Speaker Pro Tem, the House of Delegates' second highest position. He was an advocate for Black Marylanders and for investments in Baltimore. He helped establish and then served as chairman of the Governor's Commission on Black Males, which focused on ways the state of Maryland could help alleviate high rates of unemployment, arrest, AIDS infection, and school failure among young Black men. Congressman Cummings also worked to improve affirmative action programs in state agencies and private companies. During his time in the Assembly, he sought to promote the employment of African Americans and other minorities and worked to direct federal infrastructure contracts to the disadvantaged business enterprises, which were owned by entrepreneurs of color, women, or other disadvantaged small business owners. He also sought to protect and expand policies that supported the employment of minorities in the federal government and with federal contractors. And he supported needle exchange programs in Baltimore, passed tax reforms to assist Marylanders living in poverty, and was a strong supporter of gun control laws. As chairman of the House Oversight and Reform Committee, he led investigations of President Trump's governmental dealings, including probes relating to his family members serving in the White House. Congressman Cummings died on October 17, 2019. On October 24, 2019, his body lay in state in the Capitol's National Statuary Hall. He was the first black member to be given that honor. In February 2020, the House Democratic leadership honored Congressman Cummings by renaming the Oversight and Reform Committee hearing room in the Rayburn House Office Building the Elijah E. Cummings Room. His widow, Maya Cummings, who was the chairman of Maryland's Democratic Party, said in a statement, "He worked until his last breath because he believed our democracy was the highest and best expression of our collective humanity and that our nation's diversity was our promise, not our problem."
Has anybody here seen my old friend John? Can you tell me where he's gone? He got into good trouble. He fought to right the wrong. I just looked around and he was gone.
I saw Mr. John Lewis. Though it was not in the flesh, he was in the archives of history. He was fighting for social and civil justice to bring about equality. Let me tell you more. Congressman John Lewis was born February 21st, 1940, near Troy, Alabama. He was the son of Alabama sharecroppers. He attended segregated schools and was encouraged by his parents not to challenge the injustice of the Jim Crow South. Jim Crow laws were state and local laws that enforced racial segregation in the southern United States. However, as a teenager, he was inspired by the courageous defiance of Miss Rosa Parks and Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., whose attention he drew when he indicated his desire to desegregate Troy State College, now Troy University. He was discouraged from doing that by his parents, so he was educated in Nashville at the American Baptist Theological Institute at Fisk University, where he earned his B.A. in Religion and Philosophy in 1967. He became an American civil rights activist, leader, and politician who served in the United States House of Representatives for Georgia's 5th Congressional District from 1987 until his death. He was best known for his chairmanship of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee and for leading the 1965 March on the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, to the state capitol in Montgomery, Alabama, intending to demand of Governor George Wallace to the right to vote. That march was halted by police violence. However, it was a landmark event in the history of the civil rights movement that became known as Bloody Sunday. Congressman Lewis received numerous honors. He was awarded the Coretta Scott King Book Award, the Martin Luther King Jr. Nonviolent Peace Prize, the John F. Kennedy Profile and Courage Award, and the National Association of the Advancement of Colored People's NAACP Spring Arm Medal. This medal recognized Americans of African descent of distinguished merit and achievement and was awarded to stimulate the ambition of African American youth. He also received the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Congressman Lewis died July 17, 2020, at the age of 80 in Atlanta, more than 50 years after he was slammed in the head by a white state trooper's billy club. His casket was carried across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in a horse-drawn casket. His documentary, John Lewis, Good Trouble, chronicles his life and career. At his request on the day of his funeral, the New York Times published a farewell essay in which applauded the Black Lives Matter movement and provided marching orders for future activists. Part of it said, "Though I may not be here with you, I urge you to answer the highest calling of your heart and stand up for what you truly believe. In my life, I have done all I can to demonstrate the way of peace. The way of love and nonviolence is the more excellent way. Now it is your turn to let freedom ring. Storytelling is revealing. Storytelling is rewarding. Storytelling is redeeming. The story must continue because there is much more to tell.